The invitation landed on my kitchen counter, like a quiet threat. Cream-colored cardstock with elegant script that felt too formal for a small-town baseball game. Pine Ridge Little League cordially invites you to opening day ceremonies. Featuring the ceremonial first pitch by our distinguished benefactor, Derek Langston. On the newly dedicated Langston Field, I stared at the name until the letters blurred. Derek Langston. My stepfather. The man who had married my mother 15 years ago and slowly turned our family into another line item on his balance sheet. I was 32, a senior compliance specialist at Apex Financial in Dallas, where I spent my days dissecting transaction patterns that others missed. Numbers never lied to me. People did. The drive back to Pine Ridge that weekend felt heavier than usual. The flat Texas landscape stretching endlessly as memory surfaced. I remembered being 12. The star pitcher for the Pine Ridge Comets. My fastball cutting through the humid air while my mother cheered from the bleachers. Before Derek. Before his construction company started winning every local bid. Before his name started appearing on buildings, plaques. And now this baseball field. Mom called as I crossed the county line. Mia. Honey, you got the invitation? Derek is so excited. The whole town will be there. Her voice carried that familiar mix of hope and denial. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I saw it. You'll come, right? It would mean everything to him. To us. Everything was always about Derek. His pride. His reputation. His version of family. I murmured something noncommittal and hung up. The field looked transformed when I drove past it that evening. Gleaming aluminum bleachers rose where rickety wooden ones once stood. An LED scoreboard glowed against the dusk. Sponsor logos rotating slowly. And there, in 3-foot letters, Langston Field. Home of tomorrow's champions. The price tag, according to the local paper, was a generous $420,000 donation from Langston Construction. I parked and walked closer, the new composite surface crunching under my shoes. Something felt off. The numbers were too round. The vendors too familiar. I'd seen this pattern at work, donations that quietly cycled back to the donor through inflated contracts. Back at my childhood home the next evening, Derek cornered me during what Mom called a family dinner. He sliced his steak with surgical precision. Mia, I need a small favor. You handle financial documents all day, right? Just some little league paperwork. Tax stuff. Loan applications for the field improvements. Nothing complicated. Family helps family. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I felt the trap closing. The league has accountants. They do. But I trust you. Your name's already on the forms electronically. Just needs your review and signature. I didn't open the email until I was alone in my hotel room. Doors locked. 3 loan applications totaling $180,000. Structured just below reporting thresholds. Co-signer me. Purpose listed as additional bleacher upgrades and lighting, the same improvements supposedly covered by the donation. Double dipping. I read every clause. My professional training screaming red flags. I didn't sign. 2 weeks later, the first collection call came. Ma'am, this is Lone Star Commercial Lending. Your payment on the stadium improvement loan is past due. There must be a mistake. I never signed anything. We have your e-signature right here. Dated March 12th. March 12th. I had been in Houston presenting at a compliance conference, 3 hours away, with video timestamps and witness statements. My credit score plummeted overnight. My apartment manager in Dallas sent notices demanding extra deposits. Derek called next, voice dripping false sympathy. Heard you're having some financial trouble. Shame. Family helps family. Though. I could make a call to those lenders if you stop poking around the league's books. The threat was clear. Play along or watch my life burn. That night, I did what I did best. I followed the money. Using secure tools from work and my own research, I traced the IP addresses on the loan applications back to Langston Construction's office network. The biometric data on the signatures didn't match my typing patterns. Anomalies everywhere. I remembered childhood nights when Derek first entered our lives. How Mom's eyes lit up at his promises of stability. How quickly our modest home became a showcase of his success. How my pitching trophies gathered dust while his construction bids kept winning. The field lights were the giveaway, top-tier LEDs invoiced at $80,000 but wholesale closer to $35,000 installed. Where did the difference go? I reached out to Alex Torres, my colleague at Apex Financial, and the closest thing I had to an ally in this world of audits and red flags. Over coffee in a quiet Dallas shop far from Pine Ridge ears, I slid him a folder. Hypothetically, if someone forged e-signatures to secure fraudulent loans benefiting a controlled entity, what evidence would make it stick? Alex flipped through the pages, whistling low. IP logs, biometric mismatches, alibi proof, and ideally a pattern of behavior. This looks personal. Mia.
It was.
I spent nights building the timeline, 3 loans, 3 forged signatures on dates I could prove I was elsewhere, all routing funds straight to Langston Construction as general contractor. The league's public 990 filings showed the renovation money flowing through preferred vendors, all connected back to Derek. But I needed more. I remembered Carla Mendoza, a longtime league board member who had quietly opposed some of Derek's proposals. Her son had played with me years ago. When I called, she didn't sound surprised. Meet me at the library. Bring a drive. The Pine Ridge Public Library smelled of aged books and quiet resignation. Carla waited with a banker's box. Every board meeting for the past 2 years, audio, minutes, emails. Derek's been siphoning funds. But no one wants to challenge the man who keeps the lights on. I transferred the files. One recording chilled me. Derek's voice. The Kane girl won't be an issue. I've got leverage if she digs too deep. Dated weeks before the first forged loan.
He had planned this.
Carla handed me another folder. Safety inspection reports for the new bleachers. Failed initial checks, substandard steel anchoring. Improper load-bearing materials. The inspector signed off after a suspiciously timed donation to his campaign. Hundreds of kids would sit on those bleachers every season. One collapse could be catastrophic. I thought of the children who would look up at Derek's name and believe it stood for generosity. Back in my temporary room, I spread everything out: financial trails, audio clips, safety violations. A prosecutor's dream if I could get it to the right person. Derek had underestimated me. He saw the scared teenager who had watched him take over our family. He didn't see the woman who had dismantled multi-million-dollar fraud rings at work. Threats escalated, anonymous complaints to my apartment complex, parking tickets that didn't exist, a letter from his attorney warning of defamation suits. Mom texted, "Derek says you're spreading lies." I'm disappointed.
Mia.
I met with County Prosecutor Elena Vargas in her office. She listened intently, taking notes. Solid documentation. But Derek Langston has connections. Half the council plays golf with him. I need public impact. Undeniable proof that forces action, preferably with witnesses and real-time consequences. Next was the chief building inspector, Marcus Reed. His basement office felt claustrophobic. The bleachers passed inspection, he said flatly. I placed the failed reports and shell company records on his desk. A company that doesn't exist performed the corrections after a $6,000 campaign contribution. His jaw tightened. Kids sit there. Marcus. What happens when it fails? He finally admitted the pressure. I have a family too. But he agreed to conduct a public reinspection on opening day if I could create the moment. The pressure built like a slow pitch winding up. Derek's voice on those recordings played in my head at night. The way he had called me the Kane girl like I was disposable. The way Mom had chosen comfort over truth for 15 years. I drove past the field again. The new lights blazing like beacons of deception. Opening day was days away. I had the evidence, the allies, the plan. But standing on that mound again, facing the man who had forged my name and risked children's safety, would require more than facts. It would require the courage to throw the hardest pitch of my life. 2 days before opening day, the intimidation intensified. My car received 3 bogus tickets in one afternoon. An anonymous noise complaint appeared at my Dallas apartment. Mom asked to meet at the local diner, public enough to prevent a scene. She looked exhausted, lines deeper around her eyes. Derek knows what you're doing. Please.
Mia.
He's not perfect, but he's provided for us. The scholarships, the programs, everything for this town. Funded by money taken from the same programs, I said quietly. I have recordings, documents, proof of forged signatures and unsafe bleachers. Her eyes flashed with the old defensiveness. You've always resented him. He gave us stability. He gave you illusions while stealing from kids. She reached for my hand. Drop this. For me. I pulled away. I can't. Not anymore. The words hung heavy. Then maybe you shouldn't come home anymore. They stung. But I had expected them. I left money for the coffee and walked out, the Texas sun feeling colder. Council Chairman Randall Burke called my cell. MS.
Kane.
There's been a misunderstanding about the league finances. Perhaps we can discuss privately. My concerns are public safety and fraud. Those don't stay private. His tone sharpened. You're making powerful enemies. I'm exposing them. The call ended abruptly. Derek's attorney sent another warning letter threatening tortious interference. I met Alex again. He helped create clear flowcharts showing the money trail, donations in, inflated payments out to Langston Construction, differences funneled through shell entities. You could leak to the media, he suggested. But I need official action. Not just headlines Derek can spin. State agents would only move with undeniable public impact. Opening day morning arrived clear and bright. I arrived at Langston Field 3 hours early. Dew still on the grass. The scoreboard cycled sponsor logos. I carried a locked case with USB drives containing Carla's recordings, simplified financial graphics, and a hidden secondary file prepared by Alex's tech contacts. The league's IT used weak default passwords. Derek had cheaped out on security. I met the scoreboard operator, an old classmate, and tested a decoy tribute video of Derek's generosity. He approved it, unaware of the second file set to trigger automatically. Allies were in place. Prosecutor Vargas with standby agents. Inspector Reed's team ready in the parking lot. Alex and colleagues seated behind home plate in company polos. Mom sat in the VIP section, sunglasses hiding her expression. Derek worked the crowd, shaking hands, accepting praise. The teams paraded in crisp uniforms. Concessions bustled. At noon, speeches began. Council members praised Derek's vision. Chairman Burke called him the best of Pine Ridge. Derek took the microphone, voice booming. When I look at these young faces, I see tomorrow's leaders. Every dollar invested here is worth it. He strutted to the mound for his ceremonial pitch, hamming it up for cameras. The catcher crouched behind the plate. The clock hit 12:32. The scoreboard flickered. Sponsor logos vanished. Title appeared. Where does the money really go? Derek released his pitch. It sailed wild into the dirt as the first chart flashed. Donations versus actual payments. Shell companies highlighted in red. His own recorded voice echoed through the stadium speakers. The Kane girl won't be an issue. I've got leverage. The crowd murmured in confusion as document after document scrolled across the massive screen, overbilled invoices, forged signatures side by side with authenticated samples, IP logs pointing to Langston Construction. Safety reports stamped failed. Audio continued. Board meeting laughter as Derek bragged about marking up the LED lights and pocketing the difference. Lee gets lights. Langston gets paid. Everyone wins. Derek froze on the mound, face flushing purple. He spun toward the press box, roaring, "Turn it off." But the operator had already stepped away. Parents began pulling children away from the bleachers. I walked onto the field from the bullpen where I had been warming up, muscle memory from years ago guiding every step. I carried the manila envelope with hard copies of the evidence. Derek hadn't moved. Trapped between the scoreboard he couldn't control and the reality closing in. Prosecutor Vargas and 2 state agents entered through the main gate. Inspector Reed's team headed straight for the bleachers with testing equipment, posting condemnation notices. "Mr. Langston," Vargas announced over the PA. "Please remain where you are. We have warrants for your records and questions regarding fraudulent loan applications." Derek found his voice. "This is a setup. A vendetta. She's always been jealous." I stepped closer. "Jealous of what? Derek? Your charity built on stolen money and unsafe materials? Or your talent for forgery?" He lunged toward me, but agents intercepted. Mom descended from the VIP section, each step deliberate. "Derek," she said, voice carrying across the silent field. "Is it true?" The scoreboard replayed the leverage clip. Her face crumbled, then hardened. She pulled off her wedding ring and dropped it on the infield dirt. 15 years. I defended you. Chose you over my own daughter." Parents gasped at the safety report photos, cracked supports, substandard anchoring. "My kids sat there last week," one father shouted. Reed confirmed publicly, "These bleachers are condemned immediately. Structural failure imminent." The crowd's anger swelled. Vargas read Derek his rights. His lawyer pushed through, urging silence. But Derek was beyond control. "You couldn't leave well enough alone," he snarled at me. "I built this field. You built a monument to yourself with other people's money and children's safety." As agents cuffed him, the magnitude hit. Vargas added that federal wire fraud across state lines elevated it to FBI interest. They led Derek past the dugouts where uniformed kids watched wide-eyed, past the concession stand renovated with inflated costs, past the sign that would soon come down. Mom stood alone, looking smaller, finally seeing clearly after years in his shadow. The Little League president announced a postponement while concerns were addressed. But voices from the stands called out, "Let her pitch." Carla Mendoza started it. Then parents and kids joined. The president looked at me, then the empty mound, then the news cameras already filming. "MS.
King,
Would you do the honor?" I took the mound, my old mound, now on honest ground. Inspector Reed, trading his clipboard for a catcher's mitt, crouched behind the plate. The wind-up felt like returning home. The release was perfect. The ball cracked into the glove with a sharp pop that echoed through the stadium.
strike.
Applause built. For 2 hours, while investigators cataloged evidence and workers began removing the Langston field letters. I threw batting practice. Kids learned my curveball. Parents asked questions between pitches, piecing together years of deception. An emergency board meeting followed in the cramped conference room. They voted to rename it Pine Ridge Community Field, approve a full independent forensic audit, implement strict governance, public reports, independent oversight. They offered me interim financial director role, evenings and weekends, pro bono. I accepted for 6 months to ensure clean transition. Mom approached later as the sun set. "I'm selling the house. It's in his name, anyway." I have a sister in San Antonio I haven't spoken to in years because Derek disliked her. No full apology. But she saw me clearly for the first time in years. I'm proud of you, she said quietly. I should have said it sooner. News spread statewide. Federal indictments followed, multiple counts of wire fraud, money laundering, reckless endangerment. Derek's company went into receivership. Assets frozen. Name erased from every plaque and building. The Texas legislature began reviewing stricter oversight for youth sports nonprofits, using our transparency model. 2 weeks later, on the delayed opening day under a modest banner reading "Play ball with integrity," temporary safe bleachers stood ready. I threw the ceremonial first pitch again. This time for the kids. For the future. The crack of bat on ball rang clean across honest ground. No more shadows. No more lies. The game reminded us what baseball and life should be: fair, transparent, built on trust rather than deception. Derek would face years in prison. The town would heal slowly. But children would play safely. Donations would reach the field. And one woman's refusal to stay silent had changed everything. In the end, the hardest pitch isn't the one that breaks the plate. It's the truth that breaks the illusion. What would you have done if your family's foundation rested on a lie?